All righty, folks. Andrew Bolt Bros here. I wanted to do a real quick video on Joe Brady. I know he's potentially our next offensive coordinator from the Bills, and I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a video. I mean, partially for my personal edification, but it's a little bit of a breakaway from what Brandon Staley said he wanted to talk about as far as hiring a new offensive coordinator and a whole new way of looking at running our offense. And again, I want to break down a little bit about, again, I know my brother did a video on the other offensive coordinators we're looking at, but specifically Brandon Staley specifically talked about how he wanted someone from the McVay or the Shanahan tree. This is completely off of that. And it's going the Buffalo Bills direction and kind of going through their offense. And so I kind of wanted to discuss how that's different, how that's a little bit of a deviation from what Brandon Staley said initially that he's going for. But it's also kind of the same. So I want to go into this a little bit. I want to break down a little bit of the offenses, kind of the offensive schemes, kind of my take on the offensive coordinators, and specifically talk a little bit about Joe Brady, because apparently I'm reading a lot of articles that a lot of the fans really seem to like the idea of him coming over. Partially what's happened with Josh Allen. Now, my argument would be that I don't think really Josh Allen's the right guy, but you've seen the success that Daboll's had over at the Giants this first season. How he made Danny Dimes do so much better over there for the Giants. It's one of those things like fans would say, well, Joe Brady's going to do the same thing for Justin Herbert over here. Well, not necessarily. So there's a lot of things to discuss about this. Let's go a little bit into Joe Brady in general, and then break down a little bit of what happened in the playoff games with like Brock Purdy, a Shanahan run system, with Josh Allen, a Joe Brady offensive system, and kind of break down his philosophies and a few other things. So I'm going to link all these article descriptions down below, but you guys can do a few things if you want to see. So let's go into Joe Brady in general, right? So he actually, interestingly enough, had worked underneath Sean Payton in 2017. He was an offensive assistant under head coach Sean Payton. So he understands the offense, right? He understands the concept. And really, bottom line, he was one of those guys that does understand really Sean Payton's system. It's all about space and separation, much like Lombardi. So again, one of my bigger concerns that I did not want to see happen during this offensive coordinator search is getting a Lombardi 2.0. Well, to some degree, I think Joe Brady is a Lombardi 2.0, and I get a little nervous about that type of concept. So I want to do a little personal digging, so I figured, hey, I would do a video on this and kind of let you know. But he was hired in 2017 to Sean Payton, and then he went to LSU under Ed Orgeron, the LSU Tigers, passing game coordinators, wide receiver coach, and then moved up, to the offensive coordinator position. And then he was moved to the Carolina Panthers underneath Matt Rule, who is no longer there at Carolina. And then he was fired in 2021, December 5th, 2021, fired by the Panthers during, some transition. Now he's the Buffalo Bills quarterback coach, and replacing Ken Dorsey when he was promoted to offensive coordinator. So he's still there now currently. Now, since the Bills have been knocked out, obviously the interviews are going to start happening here, with Joe Brady. Now, again, let me go into a little bit about, what Joe Brady does. There's a really cool little video. Actually, let me do this real quick. Let me share my screen. All right, let me move this over here. I think a little bit nicer looking. Okay, there we go. Cool. So here's a film kind of breakdown of Joe Brady. And I want to talk about Joe Lombardi and Joe Brady because they both have, I would say, similar philosophies, but there's a huge difference between Joe Lombardi and Joe Brady. Okay. And I'm gonna break down a little bit of this and I'm gonna show you why Joe Brady would be a better choice than Joe Lombardi. But also I'm gonna go through what Josh Allen did during the playoff game that they lost. And then also I'm gonna also show the Shanahan tree of our rookie Brock Purdy and how he performed in his playoff game, right? So and I want to go through philosophies because the philosophies do matter, right? You have to understand the difference with offensive coordinators and what they're trying to do. So let's talk about Joe Lombardi first, and then I'll talk about Joe Brady and how Joe Brady is different than Joe Lombardi. I know that gets a little confusing, right? But Joe Lombardi's offense was really built on a few things, just moving the chains. Moving the chains. That's all that mattered. And if you look at all the routes and all the passing schemes that we had, it was stick, it was mesh, it was a lot of checkdowns. And I'm going to show this, right? Let me show this. Actually, you know what? Before this, let me actually do this. I'll show you. Actually, I'll show that to you in a second when we do a comparison between Josh Allen and Brock Purdy. But I don't want to change screens too much. But bottom line, the problem is with Joe Lombardi, it was all about moving the sticks methodically down the field. It didn't really matter, right? But the problem was they were all the same plays over and over again. Now, running stick is a very common play, right? You know, you have your four wide receivers, two run up, they do curls, and then maybe choice routes go off to the side to just get on the sticks. So all you're trying to do is catch the ball, make the third down, move the chains. But the problem is you don't get yards after catch. There's no explosive plays. There's nothing showing you that you're driving the ball downfield or putting pressure on that defense. Okay. Nothing. No ability to move the ball downfield with any type of, speed or anything. And it becomes a problem because bottom line, when you're trying to put pressure on a defense, you're not putting pressure on that defense. So it becomes just a frustrating part of the conversation. You know what? Actually, I am going to switch. Let me switch here, guys. Let me switch and show you what I mean by that. Okay, this is Justin Herbert's playoff game, right? But look at the pass selection on this in general, right? Everything mostly is behind. Well, not everything. Quite a bit is behind the line of scrimmage, or a 5-yard bomb. And the problem with Lombardi's play calling is he'd run stick where, or he'd run a lot of mesh. And a lot of mesh is basically where you have a wide receiver here, one goes this way, one goes this way, and you're hoping that the defensive backs don't bump into each other or cause any separation. Well, the problem with that is you're not moving the ball downfield. You're not doing anything to really drive the ball in a way that would put pressure on the defense, right? And everything is just behind line of scrimmage, but there's no yards after catch, and you have to be perfect. But the problem with that also is it's putting all the pressure on Justin Herbert to be perfect in every single game. And if he wasn't, then guess what? We're not going to win, right? He wasn't going to do anything that was going to drive the ball downfield because the plays are not designed to do that. It's not designed to have explosive plays. So let's look at Joe Brady or the Bills offense. And we showed this on our live stream, but I wanted to sort of illustrate the differences between the two offensive schemes, right? Again, Joe Lombardi, move the chains, run mesh, just keep the chains moving, and then deal with the red zone when you get there. Well, let's look at Josh Allen. Look at the absolute, he's throwing bombs left and right. And this should be Justin Herbert, right? This should absolutely be Justin Herbert. And notice, touchdown, short yards right here. I don't even think, Herbert had one, and it was a 5-yard bomb, right? Again, so yards after catches are just not happening. But look at these, right? Short, and then a long bomb to the left side. But look at how the ball has just been distributed all over the field, right? He threw an interception here at 10 yards, and then he threw an interception all the way down the field. Look, we know Herbert's got this arm, but why are we not mixing things up? And look at how jumbled everything is. It's at the line of scrimmage. If I'm an NFL team and I'm scheming defensively against the Chargers, guess what? What would I do? I'd have 2 high safety, and I would put nothing but pressure down low. Nothing but pressure down low, and just jump on these routes because all they're doing is running and stopping. Ball in hand, fall over. Ball in hand, fall over. Just nothing explosive down the field. But then if you start looking at what's happening here with, oh boy, I messed that up. What did I just do there? Oh, now you're looking at all my photos here. Wow, that's awesome. Let me switch off here. That was really weird. What did I just do? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have to take a look at that here in a second. But bottom line, again, with Justin Herbert, you're not seeing anything inspiring. Nothing is anything. So all right. So let's go into looking at Joe Brady's offense. So bottom line, Joe Brady has really made things look a lot better as far as Philosophically, his offense is to force defenses to defend every blade of grass and get speed in space. Now, let me be very clear about something. This is this is a huge difference between what Joe Lombardi was running and Joe Brady. Now, philosophically, Joe Lombardi would say they're doing the same thing. I promise you, if you sat him down and had a conversation, I'm trying to do the exact same thing, because with Joe Lombardi, it's all about spreading the offense out. The problem with Joe Lombardi's was it was just running to the sticks and sitting. This is more about putting pressure and going deep and bombing people out, right? Again, it's a huge difference philosophically, right? You're spreading the ball, but again, the two high safety have to be there, but that does what? It opens up the running game. Why was our running game so bad this season? Well, nobody respected anybody. They could sit at the box and continue putting pressure inside the box. That's it. We didn't play light fronts. We pretty much played, 6-man fronts the entire season, and it absolutely killed us. But if you spread it out and start showing that you can throw balls downfield, which is exactly what Justin Herbert's great at, guess what? It opens things up. So in that sense, this is where Joe Brady, I think, is a much better choice, because again, he wants yards after catch. He wants to continue to have explosive plays. Whereas Joe Lombardi's entire system was more about just focus on moving the sticks, and not really, let's face it, guys, it was playing not to lose, right? You're just trying to just make the next play. And when you drop the ball, when you have a problem, then things get stalled out, and then you start getting cold and you're not playing well. And again, that was the biggest problem with Joe Lombardi across the board. It was just horrible. Now, again, here's the other part of this concept. Again, this is an older article from 2020, right? So this is when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Remember, Panthers had some pretty fast guys, right? They had Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, obviously Christian McCaffrey as well too. So again, a large part of what he did was, again, it's an iteration of the New Orleans Saints offense, right? And again, and obviously from LSU, so it's a lot of college type concepts, but also Sean Payton type concepts as well too. So it's really interesting. And by the way, interesting enough, Sean Payton, just so you guys know, he's declined all of his offers from the most part to be a head coach. It's very clear he wants to be a Charger head coach. So interesting to see how that plays out this next season. We'll see how that goes. But again, a lot of speed concepts. Now, where this is a bad thing for the Chargers is the Chargers don't have a lot of really fast guys. We really don't. Most of our guys are around, 4.4, right? We're not 4.3, 4.2, whatever. Now, again, you could arguably say, well, we'll see. Guyton's probably, I think he's a 4.2, something of that nature. So he's really quick. But again, these are issues that we've got to figure out, right? So if Joe Brady comes here, again, it would. I guess my point is, Joe Brady would be a better version of a Joe Lombardi, right? And that's a good thing, right? At least it would put pressure on the defense, right? And it's one of the things that Brandon Staley really talked about in his presser at the very end of the season, is that bottom line, he did not want, the defense was just easy. They could just sit on very specific, zone coverages and completely stop us, right? That's exactly what the Niners did to us the second half. It's exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars did to us the second half. And we were unable to move the ball because they understood, look, all we have to do is cover these, mesh routes or these stick routes, or they're just moving the chain down the field methodically. And you can disrupt that. But when you're putting pressure on it like that Joe Brady wants to do, it makes a huge difference, because you're stretching the field. You're making the safeties have to respect the deep pass. It opens up the box for the running game, and that's why our running game was so poor. So again, it really is one of those situations where we have to sit back. Now, this is a cool article, and again, it's the Weekly Spiral. Definitely take a look at this. There's some really cool little breakdowns of some of these plays here. Again, a big part of what he wants to do is spread the field out. Again, Lombardi wanted to spread the field out. But again, he also wants nothing. He wants everything to be vertical. So no matter what, there's always a vertical play. Lombardi always has a vertical play as well too. But this is more about spreading the ball around and giving opportunities for yards after catch, which is something we did not do this entire season. I think that was probably the biggest detriment to Joe Lombardi's offense, is that his offense was really just focused on just moving the sticks and not getting explosive plays downfield. You look at all the offenses in the NFL right now, those all are focused on those explosive plays. And for whatever reason, Lombardi never seemed to want to do that. Anyways, it's one of those situations where, again, the cool thing about this too, though, this will also open up for Austin Eckler. It will work very well for Austin Eckler in that sense, because if you recall, Christian McCaffrey had a lot of great seasons where he was throwing to his running backs. This is actually Christian McCaffrey breaking off to the side here. So he's actually opening up. If you guys can see this video, this is him breaking off. Real simple underneath route that just causes separation. Like very simple college type of offense, just spreading the field and defending every blade of grass is what you really want. So in that sense, he's a good choice because it would take a different type of philosophy. Yes, spreading the field, exactly what we've been doing in the past, but also driving the ball downfield, which is exactly what Justin Herbert should be doing. And again, it's just horrible, right? It's horrible, not seeing, Herbert have the ability to unleash the ball. And again, I could go through this forever, but there's shallow crosses, which is very similar because that's basically mesh, to some degree. But it's one of those situations where, he would bring a more aggressive mentality to the offensive coordinator role, which I think is a really good thing. So again, do I think he's a little bit of a Joe Lombardi 2.0? I think the answer is yes, but where he really differentiates himself is being more of a yards after catch type of guy. Notice every play he's throwing, and every time you're throwing the ball, you're trying to hit a guy in motion that's moving up the field. Again, you go back and look at everything that the Chargers did this entire season. It was always about getting the sticks, catching the ball, falling on the ground, or running out. No contact after the ball is catched. Rarely did you ever see yards after catch in most cases. And that's just not the way to win in the NFL. And bottom line, it's one of the things, Brandon Staley needs to focus on. So it's an interesting thing to think about, right? So let's go back into this again. And I want to show Brock Purdy's. I'm going to show Brock Purdy. So here's Josh Allen again. Look at the distribution on Josh Allen here, right? Ball is all over the field. I mean, if you're an NFL team, which one would you rather defend? Josh Allen or Justin Herbert? Guys, you could easily design a defensive scheme to just smoke that. That's not a problem. You got to play middle of the field at best. Nothing's going to go deep. And it's just a crying shame that Lombardi did what he did. But unfortunately, that's just where it's at. Now, again, breaking down the philosophies, you got Shanahan and you also have, Joe Brady, right? Joe Brady is, again, I would say Lombardi 2.0. That's how I'm going to classify him as. He's Lombardi 2.0. But the Shanahan tree, look at what this rookie's doing in the playoffs, right? 2 line of scrimmage. These were screens, if I remember correctly. And then this one was about a 10-yard bomb, right? But again, he's still spreading the ball all over the field, right? And he only had 18 completions. He didn't have an amazing game, right? But it's 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, I will also say this. The thing about Brock Purdy is he's around. He has a full team around him offensively, right? And it's one of the things Justin Herbert's kind of struggled with this season because we have so many dang injuries. Where we had so many problems with people doing things and falling out, and just creating a rhythm has been really hard. But the one thing that's really great about the Shanahan system is keeping things very simple and very easy for this rookie to step in and do well. That's the difference, right? You go back to the Tom Brady era, you go back to all these different eras, right? As an offensive coordinator, you want things to be simple and easy to understand. And that's really one thing that the Shanahan tree does very well. And again, the McVay tree is very similar to the Shanahan tree. It's run the ball, spread the field out. They're very similar type of philosophies, but they're executed in a little bit different way, right? And again, that's kind of where we're at. But again, this can't happen. Guys, this can't happen, right? This is just terrible. I mean, it's just nothing was going well. 25 for 43 attempts. Guys, we don't want 43 attempts for a quarterback. That's just putting way too much pressure on Justin Herbert. And again, what are we saying here? 39 attempts. Now, again, Josh Allen, I would still suspect will probably be around 35 to 40 attempts, even under a Joe Brady system. But again, he's spreading the ball around a lot more. Right. And we all know Josh Allen's had an elbow issue. He's had some problem. He's probably got elbow tendonitis or something like that. But I think it's affected him. That's why he's had an interception. So it's really interesting to think about, guys. I sit back and let me give you my thoughts. I like Joe Brady. I think he's a good choice. I think it's a bit of a deviation from what Brandon Staley said at the end of the season, where he wanted to go with the McVay or the Shanahan tree. But I do think I think the best way of saying it, he's Lombardi 2.0. He really is. He's Lombardi 2.0. And I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing philosophically, because Lombardi and Joe Brady had very different ways of attacking the field, right? Joe was all about just moving the sticks and just getting to that first down and then dealing with the red zone when you get there. But Joe Brady wanted us to be more aggressive and stretch the field, right, and get yards after catch. And so that's a very different way of looking at things. And I felt like Lombardi was always about like, oh, just move the chains. We'll deal with it later. We'll deal with it later. Very laissez-faire. But, that's why we had so many ups and downs. Like, we just did not have the ability to have explosive plays. That was the detriment of Joe Lombardi. So guys, what do you think? Joe Brady, I'm a little on the fence with him. I think he's Lombardi 2.0. I think there's some good and bad about it. But I will say this too. This is one thing that I will tell you. I actually really do believe that Brandon Staley and this staff understand how important this next OC position is going to be, and quarterbacks coach. They are going to take their time. I do not suspect there's going to be a choice made on this for at least another 2 weeks, in my opinion. So it's a conversation we're probably going to continue having. It might even go till the end of the Super Bowl, right? You never know, right? Because maybe they can grab somebody from another team and go from there. Because I think there's a lot. I think they want to interview a lot of people. I think they want to get a lot of ideas on who should be brought in. But this hire of OC is going to be, it's going to make or break our season next year. It will make or break our season next year. And if we don't get the right guy, it can really hurt Herbert. It can really hurt the success of this team moving forward. It's big. This is probably, again, I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but I think this hire right here is going to determine whether or not, we still have Herbert as a quarterback, right? Because what if we bring in the wrong guy? Our season goes completely sideways, and Herbert's like, I don't want to be a Charger anymore. This could happen, guys. This could happen. So if he brings in the right guy for Herbert, I'm telling you guys, this is a big hire. This is a big hire, and I'm quite frankly, I'm a little nervous about it, because I worry that we're going to get the wrong guy in here, and we're going to have all these different problems pop up, and we're going to have some issues. So, anyways, I just want to get my thoughts out there. But Joe Brady, is he a Lombardi 2.0? He's a better version of Lombardi. Okay. Yard after catch Lombardi. So, guys, what do you think? What do you think about the offensive coordinator role at this moment? Am I overblowing it? Do you think I'm thinking it's a little too, I'm overblowing it at this point? I don't know. What do you guys think? So let me know. Let me know in the description below. And as always, guys, I'm Andrew Bolt Bros. See you guys in the next one.